It's Walt's mic that's on.
It was always my ardent desire to come back home and serve my community. Hello, I am Dr. Shardell Murray, and I am your state representative for District 116, serving Charleston and Colleton County. And I humbly seek your support November 8th to re-elect me, Dr. Shardell Murray, for your next state representative. You want someone who's compassionate, who knows the wants and needs and the desire of the people in the area, and someone who will fight for you. So let me continue to be your voice on November 8th. Please go out and support me, Dr. Shardell Murray, for your next state representative. And experience matters at the Capitol. So I know what it takes to make a community thrive.
It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but you need
Hey,
to
what's
mute the
happening,
mic.
everybody? It is showtime. It is Geno Jones showtime. I'm excited. So listen, this is part 2, a special election day edition of the Geno Jones Show, coming to you live. So live, my guest, you already hear my guest talking in the background. We excited. We listen. We just like, look, we ain't mute no mics because I'm just bringing everybody in from the top. Hopefully you saw part 1, 4 o'clock Eastern time. I had a message for my millennials and Gen Zers. Believe in yourself. Believe in you. Bet on you because you have the power. You are the future, and the future is right here, right now. But the truth is, we all, from Gen Zers to millennials to us Gen Xers to baby boomers to the greatest generation to the lost generation, like everybody, we have got the power. Speaking of the power, I've got a power panel that I'm going to bring right on camera so nobody has to worry about muting their mics. I just need to move my screen over. Bam, ladies and gentlemen. So, let's see, my left, your right. You see the beautiful woman in the corner. Those who are regulars of the Geno Jones Show, you know this sister here. Now, she's modest, so I'm going to brag on her. But she is a force of nature. But I don't have to brag because she was my original guest co-host. She was back at home with her brother on Friday. She is radio TV personality, radio TV star, and an educator primarily now, and a businesswoman who is one of the most genius messaging experts. So if you are running for office and you're talking about messaging, how to deliver a message, and not just like politicians, but anything, Miss Keela Carson. You see her on the screen there. And then to my right, because I'm looking at the screen, it may be my right, your left. This man's face looks familiar. He's a regular contributor on the Geno Jones Show, Brothers of Force of Nature. I had the honor to be a part of a law enforcement event, a forum here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. I've been trying to get this brother to run for office for a while, but they trying to wear my man out. He is just, the brother is brilliant, and he is committed to the culture and the community. But don't mess around, boy, because he will check you. Because the brother I call him the Geno Jones Show. MSNBC, they have my man. They got Ellie Nestal and they got Jason Johnson. But we don't need that because we got my man AJ Davis right there. And the two brothers you see at the bottom. So we go way back. Don't worry about how far back. That ain't none of your damn business. But we go back a couple decades, 2, 3 decades, when I was doing a radio and TV show in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we have one brother who is going to be running for a city council position in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on, I believe in February. He'll tell his story. And the other brother with the red on, he needs to run for office. We're rooting for Mandela Barnes, but I'm going to speak this into existence. If Mandela Barnes doesn't win, I'm putting this brother up. That's right, all the way down here in South Carolina. I'm putting this brother up in the red to run for the next governor or the next U.S. Senate seat that opens in Wisconsin, because he's got the right stuff. That's Harrison Kern. That's Walt Love. It is showtime. I want to thank everybody for coming on. So, look, let's just take it from the top. So, Keela, I want to start with you. You're up in Michigan.
Yes.
You got a governor's seat. You got the incumbent governor, Gretchen Whitmer that's done a great job. And people sleep on Governor Whitmer because she has to deal with she's dealing with the misogyny and sexism that in some ways is crazy and virulent as racism. As a matter of fact, for those who may remember, as a matter of fact, there are people in jail, and Keela can tell you better than I. There was like an state capitol insurrection in Lansing, Michigan. That was earlier in 2020. That was really the test run for what happened on January 6th in 2021, because a lot of the same Michigan militia that came up there with semi-automatic or AR-15s and was talking about blowing up bridges and killing Michigan state cops and kidnapping the governor and killing her and tying her up with zip ties. That started in Michigan.
Yeah, a plot to kidnap, kill.
Yeah, and they have a very important like an abortion initiative, because some crazy law they want to bring back. So Keela Carson, I'm going to bring you on. So what are you hearing? What has been the early vote turnout? What's been the turnout on election day? Does it look like women are really active? What about our young brothers and sisters? You teach at a college. What kind of vibe have you been getting from the millennials and Gen Zers that you teach?
Well, to back it up a little bit, the first thing is that turnout has been slow at the polls, physically at the polls, especially amongst that key demographic of millennials and the oldest of the Gen Z.
Okay.
So, but that is to be expected. I mean, it's hard to get that passion that is required for that demographic, that population to come out and go to the polls. Early voting, good in Michigan, but polls are slow all around. And that is what happens in a midterm. Something has to give to break that cycle, because it is so important that we vote down ballot on things and get our state legislators in place, because those are the things that are going to matter in your life immediately. So having,
let me finish your thought. I want to ask you something about the millennials and the Gen Zers, because there's something on the ballot when it comes to abortion. You can explain that crazy law. That's really going to affect the millennials and Gen Zers. I'm surprised that they're really not activated and see this as a threat to their own body and their own freedom and rights.
Yeah, I mean, that is and more specifically the young women in the Gen Z category as well as millennials. But I think it's because see, we have a history. I think all of us, just looking at us, we're probably Gen X, everybody, or either at the end of baby boomers, which is the Joneses, and Gen X. We grew up with Roe v. Wade playing, right? And so when you're born, right, and that's the norm, it's hard to connect with something not being a norm, right? It seems like, oh gosh, if you take away that, no, they weren't born with that being such an issue, okay? And so they haven't digested what this really means.
Oh, there you
Sometimes you have to, the baby doesn't understand that the milk is not coming anymore until you take away the bottle.
Until she starts sucking air, and that stomach start hurting, and she's like, ah!
Right, you have to, and sometimes it's cruel, but you got to whip it away. So I don't think they're connecting to what that really means. Also, they're fighters. They're like, okay, law be small, we're going to find a way. If we have to catch a bus, a train, a plane to some other, area.
We'll jump on 94 and drive to Chicago.
Right. By any means necessary. Because that's how Gen Z and millennials are. They're by any means necessary. I mean, these are your Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, they are. Hey, Key, they are the epitome of to take this joke from Cedric the Entertainer. I wish a motherfucker would.
Right.
They are really the I wish a or
Yeah.
the F around and find out generation. Yeah, they
Right. So that's where they are with it. So it's very difficult to zone in, especially in such a quick time. I mean, this has not been around. I mean, this just happened.
yeah.
You
This
get what
summer,
I'm saying?
you're right.
Right. So it's not enough time for the proper messaging and outreach that needs to take place.
Well,
So
let me say something on that because
Hold on. Let me introduce you. Harrison Kern
my
is up
bad.
in Milwaukee. Harrison Kern, listen, he's done radio up there. Business person, very prominent in the community, who needs to run for office. Now, Key is the messaging person.
You said
He
run from
he is the.
office.
But hold on. So look, I got the team right here. Key is the She is the genius with the messaging. He is the key. He is genius with strategy, political strategy. So he needs to run, but I know he's got somebody else that he's really gonna be his strategist
Yeah,
and get him
I'm
in
gonna
office.
push somebody else.
So wait, so
I'm gonna be
Harrison,
the
you got a
wind
question for Keelan?
beneath
Go ahead.
somebody's wing.
You got a question
This
for
is the
Keelan?
thing. As much as I can concur with some parts of what Keela had to say, I think that sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on making people responsible. Like, for instance, if the abortion thing was the only issue we were talking about, then what you said would be 100% accurate. But there is so much on the line that everyone that is not voting has already benefited and has a stake in, that we should have already had their attention long time ago. What was interesting is I was talking to a young lady from Florida, whose son unfortunately was killed a few months ago, and her and her son were pretty active in the Tampa area in the voting process. And since her son has passed, she had called me about really getting active in what was going on here in the city, and she wanted some advice about some things that were going on in both Tampa and here. And one of the things that I told her, I said, when you look at a lot of young people who don't want to get involved, say things don't matter, how many of them got a stimulus check that never would have even been on the table over these last years? Thousands of dollars. How many of them would have gotten forbearance or relief from paying rent and all these kind of things that have happened over these pandemic periods, when almost everything that was put forth that benefited people, the Republican Party was against? Almost everything. I mean, anything that they benefited from. And so you can go down the list of all the things they have benefited from the current administration. Whether we agree with all the things that have happened or not, the overwhelming evidence about the better things in their life has happened because of who is in power right now. And so when you consider that, the fact that we would hone it down to just one particular item as to why they're not getting involved, we really need to make them more responsible and more accountable for being involved every day in life, because the things they benefit from in life every day are more than one subject. And so when I was looking, I just voted about an hour ago, and I purposely waited late in my district to vote. I was number 349. Half the day is gone. There's over 4,000 to 5,000 people in that district, and not even 10% of the people have voted. And that's whether it's Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, or Gen whoever. And so the bottom line is you have people here who are apathetic, and we need to get in their ass. Excuse me if I'm online, but we need to get in people's ass about being complacent and sitting on the sidelines and then complaining when we see the end results of things. Because all of these fools who claim that they don't vote are also people who are complaining about everything that's out here in society. And everything out here in society, we have a vested interest in either changing or trying to change, at least getting in the fight. You can't win if you don't get in the fight. And the idea that we're sitting on the sidelines and are going to be dictated to by people who believe in the ideology of either Ron Johnson's or Donald Trump is pathetic.
I
So
agree.
the
So
fact is, we need to get in front of the fight.
Let me just say this, and Key, I want to kind of get your response on part of this. There's a lot to unpack. So let me try to unpack some of this real quick. And then, Walt, I want to get your feedback, because you and Harrison are in Milwaukee. Wisconsin may be a little different than Michigan. That's why I wanted to get you guys on to kind of get the pulse of what's happening in your state. So first of all, Harrison, and we had this conversation off camera,
Yes, sir.
actually. So everything
yes,
that you
sir.
just said is spot on. But let me just say this off the top. I was 21. Everybody on the panel was 21. and I've always been socially engaged. As soon as I was able to vote, I got a chance to vote for Harold Washington the second time he ran. I had just, got old enough to vote for him. So, but it's still, I'm just saying that, 21, it's just, like Keela said, you got a different attitude. It's like, you think you're bulletproof. Now, granted, in Harrison, you and I talked about this off camera. A lot of that is an indictment on us as adults, but even with that, still we all been 21, and it's just the level of social consciousness that we have now. We didn't have at 21.
Well,
So
as true as that is, that is very true. But the problem and the pushback I have is I started voting when I was 18 because the legal age in Wisconsin was 18 then. And I could not wait when I saw my father voting, and they used to always talk about how important voting was. I couldn't wait to go vote just because of how important I thought it was, because my parents put that in me. Now, my father only went to the 8th grade. My mother was educated, but my father was not. But my father knew of the importance of voting, or felt it was, so that by the time I was 18, I was running to the poll just to pull. That was when we pulled a little lever to vote.
listen,
So I was waiting to do that. And so when you say about the young people that are not engaged, that is because people in our generation and older have dropped the ball and let things go to the point that we have not put the emphasis where it should be. They've taken civic education out of schools, and we're not filling in the gap.
that's a problem. But
So, so,
let me not. I won't
but
call it a pushback.
wait a minute,
But
Geno. So what Harrison is talking about is what let's equate it to medicine, right?
okay,
You have a HMO, which is preventative, right? Get in early, right? So that we don't have a problem later.
Absolutely.
That's what Harrison is talking about, right? What I'm talking about is, okay, you got the disease. How do I move you to the pole?
right.
That's
The
it.
cure,
So
right.
you get what I'm saying? It's just that I can't be we can't be the parent. We can't go back and say, boy, we should have instilled. What can
But
we do today?
you're absolutely right,
So
Keela.
that's
But
the problem,
you're
Harrison.
absolutely right. But all of those individuals who are still reluctant just spent their stimulus check last year.
Well, that's true. But let me hold
I
on.
can't.
Let
You
me try to
right.
hold on, Key. Hold on. Let me try to moderate this. um, so Harrison, like I said, you and I had this conversation, and everything you said is spot on. But two things, I had parents like you. My grandmother was a poll worker. My mother was a poll worker. My grandfather, who was born in 1888, he quit school in 3rd grade to get a job to help take care of his mom and dad. So he lived through. He was in World War I. So I grew up around voting and social activism, the whole 9 yards. But everybody didn't grow up in a house like mine or yours. But here's an important element that we hadn't put on the table that we got. If we're gonna keep, because you know how I am. If we're gonna tell it, my mother's watching. My grandmother used to say, "Jeannie, if you're gonna tell it all. Like, don't just tell your sisters. If you didn't tell it all, what did you do too?" So we have to talk about. Right now, there's some dudes sitting somewhere in St. Petersburg, Russia, or Moscow, or up in Idaho that's got a Confederate flag and a swastika flag behind them, just posing as a black person on social media, telling young people, well, your vote don't matter, or putting trying to pit black men against black women, and black people against Jews, and Jews against blacks, and black people against Hispanics, black people against Asian. So that is going on. So we have to take into effect there are forces that's going on now, very influential disinformation campaigns and negative influencing campaigns that's going on. Walt, who's going to be running for an office in Milwaukee in February, correct? I want you to jump in. And then Keela, you're like the messaging guru, so I want you to come up with the message to solve the problem that Harrison was talking about. Brother Walt, jump in.
Okay, I was listening to Keela and Harrison, and it's ironic that I just had a situation not more than an hour ago where my son wasn't going to go vote. I went to pick him up to take him to vote. So he had his best friend there, and I said, both of y'all are going to vote. And my son went and voted because he does periodically. He's not as animate about it as I would like him to be, but I've also indicated how important it is for him to get out there and do that, because he's seen me do that throughout his life. But the one young guy that was with him said he was an independent and he wasn't voting for anybody. He was trying to get my son not to vote for Mandela Barnes. And he was like, well, what is he gonna do? He's a career politician. I'm like, really? I said, so I had this conversation with him not more than an hour ago. I said, so you're saying to me that you voted independent? I said, do you know that's taking a vote? You're actually voting for Ron Johnson. If you're not voting for Mandela and you're voting independent, you're actually voting for Ron Johnson. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I said, you have to understand what's happening here. And I said, if you didn't vote for Tony Evers, you're voting for Michaels. Well, I don't want Michaels in there. Well, you're voting independent. I said, every vote counts in reference to, well, I'm an independent. I said, I understand that. I said, however, is there independence not going to get in there right now? What we need to do is deal with what we have. And I said, some of the things that you and Harrison was talking about in reference to the benefits that they received over these past year or what have you, didn't come from a Republican, wasn't going to come from a Republican, didn't come from an independent. So these are some of the things that we have to talk about with some of these people that are in this age group to understand, yes, you say that old adage, less of two evils, but I'm looking at it is what he's going to do and what he's going to do. May not be the perfect person, neither one of them are, and you probably never will have the perfect person there.
You won't.
But you got to find a person that's going to be more conducive to what your concerns are, and the one that's more likely to do what you need to be done. And so
finish your thought, because I want to tie it up. I got a nice little quote to kind of tie up the exact point you were just making about speaking to the young dude who was an independent. And I'm not knocking being an independent, but you got to understand the game. We got to put you up on game, young man.
Exactly. And this is what I was trying to tell him. I said, you have been infected, with the demagoguery. Okay. I said, so young brother, he said, well, I already voted. I said, well, you've done that. But for future references, please understand what's really going on. And if you have a problem with understanding, by all means, you can call me at any point, any time. Go ahead, Geno.
So, and just to tie that up, and Harrison and I talked about this off camera, because he was talking about Mandela Barnes, and then there was some things he felt that Mandela's campaign could have did better. And I just summed it up by saying this. Right now, where we are in the game, who's going to do the least harm?
Yeah.
So we know Mandela is going to not do the harm that Ron Johnson's going to do. Let's get Mandela in. And we can hold Mandela accountable. If Mandela doesn't handle his business, just like we voted his ass in, we can vote his ass out. Then we can get Harrison to run to be the U.S. Senate. And then we can see some shit pop off. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying don't talk about it. Let's be about it. We can talk a good game, but action speaks louder than words. Speaking of actions, I'm going to bring my man, this brother in. He's all about action. He may be laying back in the cut, but trust me, he is all about action. AJ, I want you just to add to this conversation. You do a lot of work with young people. You have like a parent mentoring program. You have worked with success, winning campaigns. So what's your take, and what are you hearing here? Because, of course, we got a U.S. Senate seat open here in South Carolina. We have a governor's race. Let's get your take.
Well, first, I want to say I agree with everybody. I think that the biggest thing from what I see, I also work in a high school, so full of Black kids, right next to a college campus that has Black and young kids on it. The reality of it is that, as the gentleman said, we have, in our generation, we've got to make political education a priority in our community. One of the reasons I keep hearing people talk about midterms, and Geno, I've said it on the show, 2, 4, 6. We know that every 2, 4, and 6 years, there's an election happening. So there's no reason for us to continue seeing the same rhetoric around poor turnout in midterms and non-presidential years if we know that in our communities especially, we have that issue. On the other side, they organize, they educate, they create the platforms. We have to make that a priority. Unfortunately, our political education comes on election day. It comes in the weeks leading up to an election when we see people in our neighborhoods or we see the political signs. Unfortunately, if we're honest, or at least here, we don't do a good job of helping people understand not just the people who are running in their campaigns, but what are the offices that they're running for and how do they impact our lives? You know, I'm big right now. Education is under assault nationwide. We are seeing millions of dollars being put into public education, but people are just now waking up to the fact that, wait, so my local school board governs not just what my kids learn, but they also have, you know, money in capital building funds. Here in South Carolina, our local school board has what's called tax increment financing. So the local municipalities can dip into tax funds specifically for development that gentrifies and displaces Black people. So there's all these different things. And so when we start talking about younger people and why aren't people coming to the poll, because if we don't have candidates who are energizing enough, yes, we're of the age where we understand. We're the age where we understand the utility of voting. But if we honest, go back to 2008. What happened in 2008? For the first time in how many years, Black people saw somebody who looked like them and who spoke directly to them. Young people heard somebody say that your vote mattered. And that energized a base that had not been tapped into. And we haven't seen it since.
Now, Geno, that brother, Mr. Davis, you said everything me and Geno were talking about earlier. Because what did I tell you, Geno, earlier today when we talked? One of the things I was trying to do on radio, and one of the reasons I had an about face with the radio station I was on, because I tried to get them to do exactly what you had just said in terms of the candidates educating people about what positions are, what they do, how they affect their day-to-day life. And I was getting pushback from the radio station in doing that. And so I'm like, if you're not going to be out here being honest and being true to this community you claim to stand for, then you can miss me with that. And so that's 90% of the reason why I left. The other thing that was interesting, and we talked about this too, Geno, as I said, we have to do a better job of getting candidates that are not only energizing to the people, but the thing that you said about Barack had spirit. He had this certain level of likability, and he also was spot on in terms of what he was doing. We have to stop fielding weak candidates against some of these devils who have the support of their constituents no matter what. I just said that this afternoon. So Geno, my brother Davis is speaking like 110%.
Well, that's why he's on the show. And I'm going to say this again. Let me say this because I got about 3 minutes, and then I want Key to kind of give us the proper messaging, because I got a screen full of people that would make great city council people, mayors. Walt, after you get to city council, and we need to put you in that mayor's seat. If Mandela don't win, Harrison, we need to put you in the U.S. Senate seat, and even if he, or at least in the House, we need to get you in one of those House seats in Wisconsin. And AJ would tell you, I met him before the pandemic, and when I first met him, never met him, and about 30 minutes, I said, dude, I introduced myself. I said, you need to run for office. And now Key is great on messaging, because Key was from the Michelle Obama. What we're not going to do.
Yeah, not interested. Geno, I just quickly want to say before we all have to run is that, yes, democracy is always on the ballot. And it was hyperbolic. I get it, right? But no, it wasn't the right messaging, especially when millennials and Gen Z was a key target. They should have gone straight for that college money. Anything that the president could do to alleviate tuition cost would have been the way to go to drive those individuals to the polls. They had enough time to get it together, and they just totally missed the boat.
So are you saying that that program that the president should have did it, what, maybe back last spring?
Yeah, even
or the messaging you felt was ineffective?
The messaging,
How
even
would
of
you
the
message it?
possibility. Well,
President Biden is watching. What does that look? And going forward, let's go forward. What kind of messaging would you come up with now? Because the MAGA cult, they already got the messaging. Orange Hitler about to announce on the 15th you got to run. So what effective messaging? I know we got about 2 minutes going forward. Key,
that going to college, which we all encourage you to do, is not going to ruin your life, put you in debt. I mean, what kind of sense does that make, to go to college and end up never being able to pay the debt off or buy a home or whatever? So we got to correct that course. So right for the jugular, going to college is a good thing, and we're going to make sure you can pay for it.
Okay, and by the way, she's a professor, guys. She teaches at a college up in Michigan. So I got about
what part of Michigan are you in?
I'm right outside of Detroit.
Outside Detroit. So
okay,
we got about 2.5 minutes, so I can do.
Well, we needed her here. We needed her here for the messaging, so we didn't have to deal with the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Here's the thing.
I'm gonna make sure everybody has everybody's number. So we got about 2.5 minutes. So I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. Ladies first, Key.
No, I'm going to concede my 30 seconds to the gentleman.
Harrison.
All I'm saying is we could have used the sister here to help with Mandela's message. That's
well,
all
she gonna
I'm
help
going
you
to
with
say.
yours. You and Walt. She gonna help you and Walt with your messaging.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches was not doing it for me. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
So, okay, Walt, you got it. That's your closing message, Harrison.
Well, we all have to do as much as we can to change the narrative. That's each and every one of us has to do, and redouble our efforts to reach one, to teach two, because we got a lot of catching up to do. That's it.
No doubt. Walt Love, running. Tell everybody you are running for city council. What's your district? And
I'm running for alderman.
Alderman.
I mean, yeah, alderman, city council, which is the same thing. I'm running for alderman here in Milwaukee. I think I have a good shot at it.
The 9th Assembly District.
Yeah, the 9th Assembly District. And Key, I'm going to be in Detroit on the 25th, I believe. I'm also emceeing a play over there, and I'd like to meet you.
Well, I'm gonna listen. So I'm gonna hook that up. But this is your closing argument. So what you forgot to do, and Keela will help you with this. There's no way that you can run for office and be on a platform like this and not tell people who want to support your campaign, who want to volunteer, and who want to donate, because campaigns need money. You can support Walt Love right now by going to where?
WaltLove@yahoo.com.
All right.
That's your first initial.
All right, there we go. I hate it. We just ran out of. Let me come back on camera. All right, let me come back on camera. I want to thank my panel. I knew we had about 2 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Listen, I'm going to bring them back because they were like dynamic, on fire, fabulous. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you. If you still have time to vote, go vote. As a matter of fact, it is 6:36 here in South Carolina. Here in some other states, I believe in Virginia, you have another 24 minutes. All right, it is not too late. You've got the power. Use it before you lose it. Use your power for other people who do not have your best interest, where other people who want your demise, death, and destruction of you and your people and your community will take your power and use it against you. Got the power. Vote. The future is right here, right now. We're one of two things. We're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And when you don't vote, you're part of the problem because you are giving your power to somebody that doesn't have your best interest at heart. I promise you that. All right, the next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be on tomorrow, so it'll be like the day after Election Day recap. Man, this was a fabulous panel. I loved it. So I'm going to try to get them back on before the end of the week. Please subscribe, share, and like, and binge watch all my back episodes. This is part 2 of the Geno Jones Show special Election Day coverage. I hope you enjoyed it. Tell everybody you know to subscribe to the Geno Jones YouTube channel right here. God bless each and every one of you, and especially you. And God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show live Monday through Friday. Normally 6:30. Today we had special start times, special Election Day shows, 4 o'clock and 6 p.m. So tomorrow, back to my regular time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, KLB Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist, fashion designer, fashion design major, supermodel, Columbia College Chicago, my alma mater. Let's go Columbia College Chicago Cougars. Check Allie on Instagram. Check out her work and everything else about Allie Jones. It's LX, L like Lexi, X like extra, dot, N like Nancy or Nanette, C like Charlie, L like Lexi, LX.NCL underscore, that little dash below. Once again, I want to thank Keela Carson. I want to thank Walt Love. I want to thank Harrison Kern. And I want to thank A.J. Davis. What an incredible panel. So go back and binge watch this show. If you missed my 4 o'clock episode, that's must-see TV. Go back and binge watch that. And I will see you live tomorrow right here. I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody live in the chat room. This was an incredible episode, so thanks, everybody. I'll see you live tomorrow. Hey, you still got time. Today, Election Day. Vote like your life and your democracy depends on it, because it does. Your freedom, all your rights depend on it. And take a whole bunch of folks with you. Go vote. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.
It was always my ardent desire to come back home and serve my community. Hello, I am Dr. Shardell Murray, and I am your state representative for District 116, serving Charleston and Colleton County. And I humbly seek your support November 8th to re-elect me, Dr. Shardell Murray, for your next state representative. You want someone who's compassionate, who knows the wants and needs and the desire of the people in the area, and someone who will fight for you. So let me continue to be your voice on November 8th. Please go out and support me, Dr. Shardell Murray, for your next state representative. And experience matters at the Capitol. So I know what it
Key, you are always amazing, phenomenal woman. And I told you, I got you some clients sooner than you think. I told you.
Well, I'm so sorry you couldn't get that time, boy. I'm like, ooh, it cut off. But
Right there at the end. It worked out. Yeah, it worked out. I mean, the panel was great. You guys were brilliant. I'm hoping to be able to get you all back on before the weekend is gone anyway. But I told you I was going to get you some clients. So,
that was like, whoa.
yeah, and Walt's serious. Walt is serious.